All right, good afternoon, everyone. Hope you're doing well. Eric, good Erev Shabbos to all of you. We are reading Parshas Beshalach this week. We're going to do a Rashi from the sixth Aliyah for today. Very beautiful Aliyah. Talk a little bit about the man. The man story begins before the sixth Aliyah, but in the sixth Aliyah, we get into the midst of it and describes the process of exactly how it will occur. Talked a little bit about the contrast between the request for the man and the Slav, the delivery of the man and the Slav yesterday in our Rashi, but coming today to more of the specifics about how it's going to fall. There's an interesting interaction between the man and the tal, the dew. Torah tells us, Vayiva Erev, Vatal HaSlav, V'tachas Samachana. At night, we talked about night versus day. At night, the Slav is going to come. It's going to cover over the camp, and it's just going to come on its own. However, Baboker Haita Shichvas Hatal Saviv B'machane. In the morning, there will be a layer of dew around the machane, seemingly around the time of the man falling. And this towel will eventually dissipate when the sun comes, and it will come and reveal what is beneath it. So there's a description here of the contrast between the Slav and the man. The Slav comes just like that, whereas the man comes with some layer of dew. I think that's reflective of the contrast we saw yesterday. The man is given in a loving way, in a caring way, in a packaged way, like a gift, whereas the Slav just comes on its own. But there seems to be a contrast in the psukim in terms of the way the man interacts with the tal. So Rashi points out, shochev al haman. It seems here like this shichvas tal, this layer of dew, is something that comes on top of the man, right? So the man comes during the night, it's lying on the ground, and now the Torah tells us in the morning there's a layer of dew that falls on top. Baboker haisa shichvas hatal saviv la'machane. There's a shichvas tal around the machane where the man had already fallen, and now vatal shichvas hatal. When the sun comes, it dissipates that, and now there is something revealed underneath. What's revealed underneath? The man. Okay, so it sounds here like the shichvas tal, the layer of dew, covers over the man. But if you take a look, says Rashi, b'makom acher hu omer uberedes, etc. If you take a look in the parsha of Baaloscha, where we learn much more about the man, the time the Jewish people are already complaining about the man. They become disgusted by the man. They don't want the man anymore. They want the treats and delicacies of Egypt. Over here, in the midst of these complaints, the Torah describes a little bit more about the process of the man falling. It says, "Beredes hatal al hamachane laila, yered haman alav." There seems to be dew that fell at night, laila, and then yered haman alav. Then the man fell upon it. Now, this is confusing because we just read over here that the dew comes in the morning. Uvaboker haita shichvas hatal saviv rachma. In the morning, a layer of dew comes on the machane, and it reveals mechus pas. It reveals what's underneath it, which makes it sound like it's on top. So in our parsha, the dew is on top of the man, and it comes in the morning. In Baaloscha, the dew is underneath the man, and it comes at night. It falls before the man. So which one is it? Rashi tells us over here, Atal yored al aretz, v'haman yored alav, v'chozer v'yored tal alav, v'harehu kemunach b'kufsa. This was a miraculous occurrence. This just wasn't happenstance that there was dew and that there was man and these interacted in this way. This was very deliberate by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, part of what we mentioned yesterday, but the beautiful packaging and care and concern given with love as the man is given to the Jewish people. Miraculously, dew fell twice. It fell once in the evening to cover the land. Then the man fell on top of it. And then another layer of dew fell on top of the man, which then dissipated before they ate it. So you see here a protective layer underneath and a protective layer above. The two psukim are two halves of the story. When you put them together, as Rashi does, you get the complete story about the package. It's almost as if, says Rashi, the man was delivered kimunach bekufsa, like was placed in a box with a layer below and a layer above. This Rashi to me was important, firstly because it helps to reinforce the Rashi we learned yesterday about just how loving the giving of the man was. It helps to solve the stira, the contrast between this pasuk and the pasuk in Baaloscha. but it also informs a halachic practice that we have up until today. This whole section of the man is one where we learn a lot of halachos about challah on Shabbos, or lechem mishnah on Shabbos, 2 loaves of bread. The whole concept of 2 loaves comes from here, but the fact that on Friday they had to have 2 loaves. They had to collect double bread because they weren't allowed to collect the man on Shabbos. So that's where we get the concept of lechem mishnah from at our meals on Shabbos. It's also the context in which we learn. The Gemara in Shabbos tells us about how many meals we're supposed to have on Shabbos. Talks about the man on Shabbos. So Yomer Moshe ichlu hayom, ki Shabbos hayom lashem, hayom lam tinsu basadeh. Talking about eating the man that they collected on Friday, eating it on Shabbos, talks about hayom 3 times. Which the Gemara learns is the reference how we know we have 3 meals on Shabbos: the Friday night meal, the Shabbos day meal, and Shalosh Yudai. So there's many halachos learned here about the meals on Shabbos, the lechem mishnah on Shabbos. There's even something learned from the Shichvas Tal Lamala and Shichvas Tal Lamata Kemunach Bekufsa. It's based on this that some explain the practice of putting the challah on Shabbos on a board underneath and then covered above. It's not just the challah cover, which we think is important halachically and conceptually, the idea of covering over things that are blessed, the idea of the shame of the challah because we're saying the brachos out of order. These are all kinds of explanations to the cover on top of the challah. It doesn't explain why we try to be makpid. We try to be careful, if you look in the halachic literature, to have something beneath the challah board, a plate, something, not just to put it directly on the table, but to have something underneath it, even a napkin, something underneath it. And the reason for that, some suggest, is because we're trying to imitate the exact practice of the man. Just like the man fell on a layer of dew and a layer of dew covered it, kimunach bekufsa, packaged like that, we try to simulate that with the challah at our table as well, and therefore both are of importance, not only the cover above, but the cover or the layer beneath it as well. Something you perhaps can talk about at your Shabbos meals tomorrow. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful Shabbos.
You too. Thank you. Good Shabbos, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Thank you.
Good
Good
Shabbos.
Lovely idea. Thank you.
Yeah.